Want your gear with your gyms or personal brand with large discounts? Check thecombatco.com, where shipping is free internationally.
So if you just get him to throw, let's say, a jab at you a few times, and I can look at some of the ways you're reacting, and then we can talk about what strategy you want to achieve. Do you want to close the distance? Do you want to kick when he's punching? There's many different options. But first we have to be comfortable not being hit when he's trying to throw a punch actually at the face. Not just to touch the face, but go through the face. Because it's a different range. Point fighting versus full contact when you're actually trying to do damage. It's a slightly different range. 2 or 3 inches and it makes a difference. So first you have to just get used to dealing with them throwing, making sure it's not landing and hitting you, but in a calm, relaxed state. You don't want to be all tensed and tight and nervous and closing your eyes and moving more than you need to, and that's only going to come through repetition.
No gloves, I mean, it's fine.
It's fine.
Up to you. If you trust him and yourself, you don't need gloves. It's a quicker way of learning if you get hit without gloves.
Okay, that's good. I like learning quick. Oh, I'm so not used to this.
But that's the whole point. That's why, how can you deal with it in a ring or against someone who's used to punching if you're not used to being punched at?
Right. That's true.
Matthew has to aim for your face.
I just try to...
That's good. That's
Okay.
it.
So...
Now start moving around the room a little bit. Don't stay in the same place relative to each other. Change your angles and don't get in a rhythm of throwing jab, jab, jab. He's got to make it a bit more random now.
So we move a bit around.
Very good, very good. You can see if you can make your movements a little bit smaller, so it's the jabs are still not landing on you, but instead of moving 12 inches away from it, you just move 1 inch away from it, for example.
Got it. Okay. If you hit me, it's fine. Don't worry. Okay.
Okay, very good, very good. So that's the process. You would start like that, and then gradually you would drill in maybe his cross or his right hand if his left leg's forward. Then you'd maybe work on the hook, then the uppercut, and bit by bit then you add in the elbows, the knees, the kicks, until you can comfortably react to any strike from any angle without getting hit, without overreacting, without tensing up. Your awareness is spreading and it's happening without you thinking, so your awareness can be on other things, because any time in MMA maybe he's going to shoot in to try and take you down, and if all your attention is just on his hands, you're not going to see the kick. If all your attention is on his hands and the kick, you're not going to see the shot. So you build it up real slow, just getting comfortable with anything he might throw at you.
Right. Totally makes sense. Like, really makes sense.
The basics, but the basics are often overlooked.
Yeah, sure. It's crazy. As I said, that's what I realized going through the process, that we don't do these things and then they're so foreign. You know, in Aikido, there's these punches where they stop and nothing happens, and you do your stuff, and you kind of think, okay, so I'm gonna be used to punches, but it's just different. So.
Yeah, and again, it doesn't have to be a 1 hour of doing that. You know, 5 minutes is enough, and you didn't even take a single shot, which is great. If you did take a shot, it's no big deal. You're not going to break your nose. You're not going to have a black eye. It's all fun and games. So let's say now you've got a specific strategy in mind. What would you like to do when he attempts a jab? How could you incorporate one of your Aikido techniques into his jab? Would you like to clinch? Would you like to lower your level to come for a leg? How would you like to proceed now?
My biggest mistake was I was going for the wrists in the match that I did in the sparring, and obviously that doesn't work. I learned that. I discussed with some people, and there were recommendations to go for the clinch and to try to work from there. Honestly, though, I never did a clinch, so I was curious if you could guide a bit through how to do that.
So one good way to come into the clinch, you slip to the outside of his jab. As he pulls his arm back in, you follow his arm back in. So he pulls his arm, you move in with the arm until you're in the clinch now. Because remember, there's never just one way. You slip your head slightly to the right as his left hand comes out, and you're also simultaneously pushing off your back foot, moving down his arm, and you should feel his arm on your neck as you slide down it.
Right.
Okay, so just play around with that, see if you can get that one. Okay, he's going to throw his left hand. You slip to the right of it. You don't go backwards. That's it. And now move in, slide in real close and slide down his arm.
Here?
Good. Keep going closer, closer, closer until you clinch. That's it. There you go. Good. The timing has to be really on point for this one, which means that the drills and repetitions have to be in the thousands. Now what you can also do is you parry with your right hand, very small movement, just to redirect the punch away from your head, and you're sliding down his arm at the same time. There you go. And as soon as you make contact with him, you want to knock him slightly off balance. Yes, that's it. So that's an example of how you can close the distance off the strike, one of the strikes. With regards to the wrist locks, I find they're only going to work when you're pressing your opponent against the wall or if you're on the ground. If you're just standing up in free space, they got too much space to move to wiggle out of it.
Right.
And you're committing normally both your arms to one of theirs. So you're open for strikes. If we were to continue what we did, you move in on their punch, you put them on the wall, you pin them on the wall, and then if the hand is out of position, you can quickly 2-on-1 use the wrist lock to take them down. But again, that's normally if the hand is out of position, you might strike them with a knee or something to distract them, and then suddenly you go for the wrist and you get the takedown.
So basically we try to go for the edge of the ring or the wall.
Yeah, you got to back them up, limit their movement options so they can't escape as easily. It's another crucial part of training which is often overlooked by a lot of traditional martial arts. The idea that you're going to sometimes be fighting with either your back against the wall or where you're pressing them against the wall and the floor, obviously. Drive them to the wall, apply pressure. Either you can be leaning into them with the shoulder, you can lean in with the head, use a distraction like maybe knee, and then when the hand is out of position, take them down with the wrist lock.
If I place the head, where does it go?
Put it underneath their chin and disrupt their spinal alignment so they're weaker.
Oh my gosh. So here.
Yeah, and you want to make it as uncomfortable as possible for him.
Right.
And your posture still needs to be good, so you need to lower your bum down a bit to the ground so you're driving up from underneath diagonally. This would be wrong, I'm looking down at the ground. This would be good, really strong, like a diagonal line here. I'm driving forwards and upwards. So then you might just decide to distract with a knee or something.
Right, so go for the knee.
That's it. And let's say he moves his arm somewhere to block, and then you time it where he's distracted, go for the wrist, get the takedown. There you go, nice. And again, it's a fight, so nothing's going to work 100% of the time. You can't have in your mind, I'm going to get into the wall, do the wrist lock, he'll be on the floor. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The more you drill it, the better you become at it, the more chance it will work.
And let's say if it's a boxing ring, like in the video I was in the boxing ring, is it the same? Does it apply because there's the bounciness?
It all depends, because are you going to be wearing gloves or not? If you're wearing big gloves, the chances of you being able to do a wrist lock are very, very low. In fact, they're pretty much impossible.
Yeah. But let's say MMA gloves.
MMA gloves, I would personally, in the boxing ring, drive them towards the corner where it's less springy, less bouncy.
So, but if we're in a clinch, in the middle of the ring, then you say wrist locks, wrist throws are dangerous or probably not going to work?
Yeah, they're very low percentage.
Right.
You would have to be really, really good at them, and the other person will have to be very, very unfamiliar with them.
Right.
As soon as, and most people who train jiu-jitsu are going to intuitively know when one of their joints is in danger of being manipulated in a way it doesn't want to be. So even if they've never experienced the wrist lock, because they're so used to having their other joints put in bad positions, they will sense early enough to be like, oh no, I'm in danger, and they'll move. They'll intuitively know how to move away from the danger. So again, unless you're fighting a complete beginner, it's very low percentage. Unless you're on the floor or pushing them against the wall.
Yeah, that was the difficulty I had in the sparring too, because even if I would get something close to that, it just didn't have all the space I needed to work through it. In Aikido, sometimes if the person resists and stands without moving, then yeah, I can go through the resistance, but it takes time, and here there's nothing like time.
Why don't you try a couple of times from the jab, moving in on the jab, driving them to the wall, and then finishing with the takedown.
And just one last question. From here, it's hard to be honest.
Okay, so you don't reach for it, you only go for it if his hand is there. So because his hands are up, he can't block low, so you keep striking low. You can strike him in the stomach with an uppercut, you can knee him to the groin even, and when he brings his hands low to defend, that's when you capture it.
So if you go for the protecting your here and here. Right.
That's it. And then normally, once you've achieved the wrist lock takedown and he's on his way down to the ground, you're already transitioning into a submission or strikes.
Some BJJ or ground and pound?
Yeah, I mean, you must have some sort of armbar locks where you hyperextend the elbow joint in the Aikido, no?
Well, funny enough, we almost not. It's crazy.
Okay.
There's one, but basically all I learned, all the groundwork I learned only in BJJ, and I'm still, I'm only a beginner, but that's the horrible part. You need to.
Or some sort of pin even. A pin is good.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. A pin.
Because then that pin them, you leave at least one arm free to strike.
Okay. So I don't leave him. Right.
You're not going to pin a good MMA guy for long, but as long as it's enough to get at least one significant strike off, then it's a good thing. So let's say you've hit the wrist lock as he's falling, you're already putting in the big strike.
Right.
Because on their way down, they're still getting their bearings, they're working out what's going on and what they're going to do next, boom, and you already hit them in that moment.
We go for the jab.
You throw the left jab, you slip, that's it, and you keep them, knock him off balance, drive him to the wall, strike him straight away.
Striking.
Keep striking, attack, now strike.
And go for
that's it, nice.
Okay, we do one more. So, here, punch, boom, punch, go. Right, feels different.
Yeah, having to think about more aspects of fighting than what you're normally used to.
I'm starting to get it, and obviously, I mean, I understand it needs. This is not. I tried it 3 times and I'm done. This is something that I should just drill.
What else did you find in that first video you made that you thought there might be something to it and you could use it, but you didn't quite know how to adapt it for that situation?
Sure. Okay, that's a great question. In Aikido, there's a technique. You can see it in Steven Seagal's movies all the time. It's for where you go for the neck with the arm, but Tadas, the MMA fighter, so I was trying to go for it, but he really knew how to resist it, and so I was trying to force it through, but then after some moments, that was it. So is there any ideas you have there?
So I've got a few pointers. Instead of going for the neck, go higher up, maybe under the nose.
Right.
And you want to, again, think of disrupting the spinal alignment. So you're bending and rotating his spine to make him look up and away from you at the same time. When I talk about the spine, I refer all the way to the crown of the head. So the higher up you manipulate it, the more leverage you have. So think about moving him like so. At the same time, you can use your other hand at the base of his spine to collapse him this way.
Right.
So it's like a scissor effect.
Right. So I go down, up.
Collapse his spine. Give it a really big hit. Boom.
So go here and through the head. Right.
Yeah.
Well.
So remember, not the neck, come higher up. And you want to use this sharp bit of your wrist, that blade part, to really aggressively make his head turn. Crank the neck.
Through inside and turn.
Nice.
Can you say a few words why you wouldn't go for the whole arm?
The MMA guys have really strong posture.
Right.
Really strong. So their necks are so strong, helps them take a punch. Strong for wrestling, strong for head positioning. So I prefer to manipulate the spine. It's a 3D movement. You don't just go you don't just do horizontally, you don't just go vertically.
Right.
It's like spinning a ball diagonally. That's what you're after.
Right. Yeah, it does make sense. I had done something similar, so it clicks with me.
You've also got the option, so you were here and here, to use your leg. But the general rule for the internal martial arts, as I'm sure you're familiar, is if they're strong and solid, you don't just keep insisting, you quickly switch up, transition to a different move.
Right.
So, that's got to be part of the training. You go for one thing and you learn how to flow into something else. So if you get yourself back in that position, where he's solid and you couldn't move him, and then have a look and think about what you could throw straight into thereafter.
So there's one more thing, actually, it's related to a question I had. So let's say if I'm going with the whole arm and he's resisting, okay, well now you showed this would be nice. But so there's one more technique we use in Aikido where we go for the back. But again, here I have a doubt if, we twist the back, turn it up, and bring the person out of balance. But again, I guess with the MMA guys, they're not going to give their back,
What's going to be more difficult in MMA is because you've got no top on and you're sweaty. So when you try this move, the hands are going to slip a fair bit and it's not going to be as effective. Earlier on in the fight, when both of you are dry, it's worth trying. You can also kick the back of the knee as you put it down, or knee to the coccyx as you put them down.
So I would also go here, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So the question you asked, if he's resisting, I'm going here. Why? Something I'm thinking about now is I could try to.
And again, it's a moment by moment thing. People are going to resist in different ways at different angles. So you have to always choose the path of least resistance.
Right. Yeah. That sounds like Aikido.
Yeah. It's getting into that habit of drilling a flow of moves together. Chaining different moves together, 3 moves, 5 moves, 2 moves, doesn't matter, over and over again, and then once you get good at that, you can become more and more creative.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, when I looked at BJJ, it was also a lot about if you learn just a single technique without anything in connection, then it's not much at all. I mean, if you go for one, that goes for the next one. So I see what you mean. It makes sense. It really makes sense. Let's see. So let's say I'm going in here, so you can resist. That didn't work. But here, so you said you wouldn't go for the wrist, so...
No, but you can still lock the arm out, shoulder or elbow.
So I'm thinking about bringing that here, but I can feel even here. So in Aikido, we have a technique here, but that's the nice traditional sweet form, but I'm thinking,
Instead of grabbing the neck, don't grab the neck, grab the back of his skull with your right palm.
Right.
You have more control, more leverage, and you can pull him into the right knee.
So basically for the knee. And here in the shoulder, he feels quite strong, quite solid. So I'm thinking whether there should be an extra angle, or do you have a feeling here? Or
yeah, but as long as you're tipping with both arms on the skull and your left arm, you're circling clockwise.
Right.
And there you go, stepping.
Right.
That's it. Now, from the initial entry point, when you close the distance, there's a move called a side choke, because his arm is already like this. Okay, so his shoulder is cutting off the blood supply on his right side, and your bicep shuts the blood supply off on his left side of his neck. Your right hand grabs your left bicep,
so
and you put your left hand on your left ear. Once you're in that position, it's very easy then to bring it to the floor, but it's a good position to tie them up in. Okay, now wrap your right arm nice and deep, bringing your bicep onto the left side of his neck.
Right.
Grab your left bicep with your right hand. Good. And your left ear with your left hand.
So,
okay, good. So this is called a side choke. You can finish this. It's a submission, or you can bring the fight to the floor and finish it again on the floor. But it's a very good position. It comes from feeling it, having someone who knows it do it on you. Then you know where the placement is supposed to be, and then you can do it on someone else. Otherwise, you end up using too much strength because the position's not good. But it should be nice and snug. The thing with choke is when a choke is done well, it should be very comfortable for the other person. They should feel like they're drifting off into a dream and sleep, and then they're snoring because it's so comfortable. The blood supply gently it stops. You know when someone's just muscling and doing it wrong, it's when it's more like a neck crank and it's just really uncomfortable.
Right, yeah. In terms of just starting to figure things out, how it works, it's your tips, your ideas already help out a lot. And as I said, I'm clearly this is just kind of an introduction to something I should have to do by myself or with the trainer or whatever. But this is drilling. But so I'm kind of getting already some ideas where to head.
I would start with the jab, getting comfortable with the jab, and then adding in the other straight punch. I run workshops teaching this exact stuff. I've got one in end of September in the UK, and then I come to Germany in September as well. So anyone that wants to learn this stuff, you're welcome to come and join me for that. But really, yeah, getting comfortable with the strikes, and then drilling.
So when you're teaching the seminars, you're connecting internal martial arts with, I see, modern martial arts, if that's correct?
Yeah, so what I do is, because I've done the UFC fighting from MMA, and now I specialize in Tai Chi, I'm joining both worlds together. They both have a lot that they can learn from each other. The MMA guys, they're unhealthy. They may be fit and strong, but when they reach 30, 35, their bodies are damaged, they're burnt out. And they have to stop training, and then they stop learning. Okay, everything's very yang. There's not much balance to it.
Right.
On the other hand, the internal guys, it's not realistic. There's big chunks of their training that's missing. So I like to bring the best of both worlds, bring it all together.
Do you see, I mean, in terms of the Aikido you saw or you had some touch with, Tai Chi and Aikido, do you feel there's some relationship there, or?
Yeah, there's a relationship. They're both, for me, considered internal martial arts. It's about balance, it's about a way of life, it's about efficiency, it's about non-resistance. So, you know, these are principles which extend outside of the dojo and help us live a more peaceful life.
Right, great. And definitely, and you see that internal traditional martial arts can transform, or what's your perspective on the whole picture? I mean, where Aikido is going?
In my opinion, MMA is still a relatively new sport. Every year it's evolving. And before long, you're going to have more and more people turning to the internal martial arts to deepen their understanding of the martial arts, to help them have a longer career, healthier career, right. Because you can continuously increase your skill level. As long as your body's still working, you can keep getting better and better, in my opinion. And you should be peaking maybe around the age of 40 instead of currently it's about 25. So it's going to extend people's career a lot longer and help them bring more balance to their everyday life, not just what's going on in the gym.
Right. That sounds really, really nice. Really cool, really cool. I am thinking, you started that idea with the Kickstarter or crowdfunding, and then I started thinking about that, and I thought that would be cool if I could organize some financing and visit you, and could we do some work together on...
Absolutely, it'd be a pleasure, yes.
Yeah, that'd be really nice. Because I feel, I'm so sure you could give so much even here, but still it's all going to be just picking small. For me, it's going to be just a slight introduction. It would be great to do some extra to feel it, and so I think this is a potentially a great beginning for something to grow. I'm very interested to see where this goes.
Good stuff. Let's make it happen.
Yeah. And just so I would know, because maybe that's a window, you said end of September in UK. Is it in London, the seminar?
It's in Oxfordshire, which is an hour and a half west of London. It's the beautiful English countryside. It's going to be a 3-day thing, and then but the best is to go to my website, raisedspirit.com, RAISED spirit.com, and that lists all my workshops, including ones coming up next year. I'm in a lot of different countries.
So yeah, I guess that's all I have on my plate. I don't know, anything else you want to add to this?
It's just been a pleasure. Train well, and hopefully we'll speak soon.
Thank you very much, Nick. Really, thank you so much.
Welcome.